on this episode of Feel Dumb for Asking.
So if a couple is interested in building a strong relationship, they need to understand that each of them has a set of needs, that if you can identify those needs and understand those needs and then meet those needs, the trajectory of that relationship can go higher and higher.
And now, Ronnie and Bo.
Well, hey, you guys. Welcome to Feel Dumb for Asking with Ronnie and Bo.
This is going to be a great one.
I think I'm already predicting it's going to be my favorite. It's actually a two-parter, so we've got an episode right now that'll be followed up with another episode because it's just too much for one episode. So today we're going to tackle the question, what does a man really need in a relationship?
Just a nice hoagie and a cold beer, right?
That would be for some people if you're 25 maybe or 14. But as we get older, maybe there's a little bit more that we need, and especially in the context of marriage. And I don't know if you heard the laugh there, but we're probably not the best experts.
No,
for this conversation. So we have brought in one of my best friends and a communicator, pastor that is one of my heroes, Pastor Shawn MCBRIDE. Hello, Shawn. How are you?
Hey, Ronnie and Bo. Thank you all for having me on. I really appreciate this opportunity to share. Listen, I know it's the Ronnie and Bo show, but if you need a black guy from DC to make it Curly, Mo, and Joe, sign me up.
We'll take it. We'll take it. Oh man,
Pastor Shawn.
Well, For our listeners, Pastor Shawn MCBRIDE's an ordained pastoral counselor and highly sought-after marriage and family therapist, serving families for over 20 years. He's got his bachelor's degree in biblical studies and then a master's degree in counseling, and been married for over 25 years to Dana. Man, she's a gift, isn't she, Shawn?
Oh, my word. She is a gift. She's the whipped cream to my ice cream. She's the cherry on top of my cake. She is my all in all. We met in middle school.
Wow.
And so while we've been married now 27 years,
wow, but
we've known each other for well over 30 years.
Well, that adds a lot of expertise, because then what you're bringing is not just years of counseling experience and pastoral experience, but you've got marriage experience and you got 5 kids on top of it, right?
5 children. That's why we never got divorced, because I never wanted to pay child support for 5 kids.
That's too good, man. Well, Shawn and his family currently make their home in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. And so, Shawn, why don't we just get into the question we're going to tackle for this episode? What does a man really need in a relationship? So, I mean, by the nature of the question, you're telling us that there's different needs between men and women?
Absolutely. Different needs between men and women. And it's important to understand that when these needs are met, whether the needs of the man are being met, the needs of the women are being met, then there's a level of marital or relationship satisfaction. Okay? When a man has his needs met in the marriage and a woman has her needs met in a marriage or in a relationship in general, there's a sense of happiness. There's a sense of joy. But stop meeting any one of the needs and they land up in my office or a counselor's office trying to figure out what's going on.
I bet.
So I'm not making a joke here, but my wife always says to me, I need you to pinch my shoulders. You're not talking about that, are you? No, I'm being serious. Huh? Is that one of them? I guess, huh?
No, that's not one of them. But close, though. But close.
Shawn, this last year we're coming out of, well, I don't know that we're coming out, but it's certainly changing a little bit with the vaccine and whatnot. But the COVID situation and pandemic has really brought a lot of other things to the surface. And I know just on our side of the country over here, we've seen a spike in depression and marital issues and all sorts of things. Are you seeing that as well?
Without question. In fact, at the time of this broadcast today, the numbers are up right in the state of Maryland where I live. So even though we have 3 different companies offering vaccinations, the numbers are continuing to climb. We are still in a pandemic.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I'm still wearing a mask. I'm still staying. I try to stay 12 feet from people.
Yeah.
Forget the 6 feet. I'm trying to stay 12. Stay away.
6 for me,
So
6 for you.
so the numbers are still climbing. And while we are thankful and grateful for doctors and scientists and frontline workers for vaccinations, we are still not out of this pandemic. And I need everybody to understand that. Practice safety precautions at all times.
That's really wise, Shawn. So what do you think is the primary reason that there's been such an increase, especially in the marital issues and challenges?
Yeah. Well, I tell you, Ronnie and Bo, I've been serving married couples for over 20 years. In fact, I've been counseling 3 groups of people for the last 20 years. Couples who are dating, couples who are engaged to be married, who want to go through some kind of process to get ready, and then, of course, couples who are married. I've done this literally full time for the last 20 years. This last year has by far been the busiest year ever. And it actually started about a few months after the pandemic hit, because the phone started to ring a lot more, because now husband and wives, boyfriend and girlfriends who are not allowed to go outside and play, are not allowed to go to the beauty salon, the barber shop, who are forced to be in the same quarters for months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months because of the pandemic. Now they got to talk to each other. Now they got to resolve conflict.
Right.
Now you just can't go, to the bar or wherever because the bar's closed.
Right.
Yeah. And so I have seen a major uptick just in people reaching out for relationship counseling. Again, dating couples, married couples, engaged couples, just reaching out for some kind of help to get understanding as to what's going on in the relationship.
That's fascinating, because it sort of started in the beginning of all this as sort of a little joke or a little tease. Oh boy, now I'm going to have to engage with my wife or my husband, and
absolutely,
it was sort of a joke. And now it's no. You look at the ways of coping, right? You cope by going to play golf. You cope by baking or something like that.
Yeah.
And and then what? 14, 15 months later, it's serious stuff.
Yeah. When COVID first started, I thought, gosh, this is bringing a whole lot of new stuff to the surface. And the longer it went on, I went, oh, I don't think COVID is bringing anything. I think it's just allowed stuff that was already there to come to the surface.
Absolutely.
So
COVID has revealed a lot of stuff in relationships. In fact, I believe now, while we certainly hate the loss of death and the loss of life and the pain and the tragedy and the agony that COVID has brought to so many families, there's a lot of good that I see from my vantage point that's coming out as a result of this pandemic. I mean, couples are finally doing the hard work, the difficult work, the focused work of working on their relationship. And, pre-COVID, my thought was, one thing, but now after COVID, it's completely changed. And so I'm glad to see that, again, there's some good coming out of such trauma, such sickness, that these couples are now, just focusing on getting better and having their relationships become stronger.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, I think this episode and next, we're going to try to maybe increase some of that good, because there might be people that can't even get to a counselor, and yet they've got these issues. And so your website that is super helpful, the couplescounselingcenter.org. That's couplescounselingcenter.org. If you got needs, you can just start by reaching out right there, get some resources, and get connected with Shawn for sure. But Shawn, let's go ahead and answer the question for this episode. What's a man really need in a relationship? Because it sure seems like, if we understand what each other needs, then we can really go a long way at maybe healing up some relationship or strengthening it, right? And you've got a handful of things, I think 5 things you want to walk through what every man really needs in a relationship. So why don't you just walk us through those?
Absolutely. So if a couple is interested in building a strong relationship, again, whether they're dating, whether they're engaged, whether they're married, they need to understand that each of them has a set of needs that if you can identify those needs and understand those needs and then meet those needs, the trajectory of that relationship can go higher and higher. In fact, the reason that couples end up in my office, and they don't know this before they come, is because of unmet needs. Their emotional love bank accounts, if you will, their emotional love tanks are in overdraft. Their unmet needs are in overdraft. And so they're trying to figure out, hey, what's wrong? And so over the last 20 years, as I've been able to work with couples, I've been able to identify, okay, here are 5 things that a man needs in a relationship, and here are 5 that a woman needs. So are we starting with the men?
We'll start with the men, and the next episode we'll tackle what the women really need.
Okay. So if we start with the men, okay, I hope I can keep it real on the show. Well, the very first thing that a man needs, again, we're not talking just wants or desires, we're talking needs,
right,
is sexual fulfillment.
Yeah.
He wants to have sex.
Yeah.
He wants it regularly. He wants it regularly, and he wants it regularly. and
Wait, so you're telling me he wants it regularly?
a sexually fulfilled man is a happy man. He is not a man. I'm sorry, he is not a monster. He is a man. And so studies and research shows us that when a man is having regular sex with his lady, he's a happy man. You take away that regular sexual experience, he becomes a madman. I simply believe the Bible when it says that God created Adam and Eve and he put them together and he said, be fruitful and multiply.
Right.
That's my favorite. You ask my wife, that's my favorite scripture.
Pastor Shawn, I can't think of needs 2 through 5. I think we pretty much wrapped that one up, didn't we?
Exactly. Well, if you look at a man's brain and you look at a woman's brain, and if you look at the need for sex in a man's brain, it takes up the whole brain.
Yeah.
But for a woman, if you looked at her brain, it's just a small little piece in her brain.
Yeah.
So for a man, this is huge. It's big. But believe it or not, what I've discovered in 2 decades of working with couples, now this is interesting. If a man has an affair, if a man cheats, 95% of the time, he's not cheating because he's able to have sex with someone else. He's cheating because of the second need that is unmet, and that is the need for RESPECT. We call it respect. We call it respect. Yeah. So when you look at the data, you look at the research, men are not having affairs because they just want extra sex. I mean, in this world we live in, they can get it on their phone. I'm not saying it's right, but they can get it anywhere.
Right.
But when you look at the data as to why men stray, they're straying. The number one reason that they're straying is because some other chick, some other girl is giving him respect. Another way to say that respect is admiration. Yeah. He's getting somewhere else. You are special. You are wonderful. You smell good. You look good. You are so kind. You're so compassionate. So they're getting this respect elsewhere versus when they go home to their lady, they're getting nagged. They're getting verbally abused. They're getting called names, which is why a lot of guys will spend more time on the golf course or at the bar or away or at work, right? Because they understand when they go home, they're not going to get that RESPECT. In fact, Ronnie and Bo, this is a powerful principle. I want you to get this. In 1967, Aretha Franklin released a hit song called Respect. RESPECT. Yes. Sock it to me, sock it to me, sock it to me, sock it to me, right? Yeah. So she made millions. It was a hit song. But here's what most people don't know. She released that song in 1967. 2 years prior, a man by the name of Otis Redding released the song called Respect. So in essence, it wasn't a woman that came up with the idea of respect. It was really originated with a man. And so what Otis Redding was saying is, look, I'm a man and I desire RESPECT. Yeah. Aretha took that song, made it her own, and made millions doing so. But the point is, respect is something that a man wants. In fact, if you look at it from a biblical perspective, that's, radio and music. From a biblical perspective, there are no commands explicitly in scripture that you see God commanding a man to respect a woman. The verses that you see in scripture pertaining to a man and a woman is the man is to love a woman, but a woman is to respect the man. Wow. Yeah. So all these women who are talking about, I love my husband, I love my husband, I love my man, that's great. But what they really need is not love. They really need respect.
Yeah, that's respect.
Good. Hey,
that's
Pastor
good.
Shawn,
respect.
Can I interrupt a little bit?
Absolutely.
You can't tell me the cases that you've worked on with these couples, but let me see if I can sort of talk about that admiration and that respect. Do you see a little bit like in a family situation where right or wrong, maybe kids come into the relationship and then and then from one's opinion or one's view, it looks like the woman is spending more time with the kids, or the husband feels that there's a lack of I don't know if it's respect or admiration, but it's just going towards the kids or going elsewhere in the day.
Absolutely. So what happens, Bo, is a couple who's dating. Okay. So they're dating each other. They're having fun together. They're having a great time together. She's respecting him and he's loving her. And they're having so much fun. Somebody says we should get married and do this for the rest of our lives. So they end up getting married. They stop doing. Yeah. Exact things that they were doing when they were dating. Yeah. So now the kids are here and the kids are now a priority and now work is more of a priority and extracurricular activities is more priority. And so that's why I say couples who get married, they don't fall out of love. They fall out of focus. They fall out of focus. So now her focus is no longer her man. Her focus is her children. And now her children are being admired and her children are being celebrated. And her children are getting, if she got young kids, they're getting both breasts. And the dad, he's sitting over in the corner. He's serious because those used to be his breasts, and so, yes, Bo, to answer your question, yes, she stops meeting that need for admiration. She stops meeting the need for sex. And so now what happens is when your needs are not being fulfilled inside of your relationship, unfortunately, people start to look outside the relationship to get those needs met.
Yep. And the stats on that are obviously high.
So let me follow up.
Absolutely.
The simplified answer to that
is
to work hard at the relationship.
Yes.
Right?
That's right. To work hard, put the time in, focusing on what your partner needs. Listen, there are 168 hours in the week. I tell this to couples all the time. You see me for one of those hours, you have another 167 hours to work on your relationship. The change doesn't take place in my office. The change doesn't take place over a Zoom call. The change takes place in the 167 hours that you have left in that week to focus on your relationship. The couples who put in the work.
That's great.
The couples who say, you know what, we're going to lean into it. We're going to start working on it. They will look, if you put in work in any area of life, you tend to get better. If you put in the work at the gym, start eating right, you're going to slim down.
Yeah.
If you put in work in surfing, in whatever you're doing, 9 times out of 10, you're going to grow. The same is true in relationships. But again, couples have not necessarily fallen out of love. They've fallen out of trying.
And I
don't want to work anymore.
I don't know if this relates to what we're talking about, but I have kids, you have kids, Ronnie has kids, and we always say, keep your chin up, work hard in school, work hard on your skateboard, on your bicycle, keep practicing, shoot your free throws to make the JV team, and we have no problem saying that.
Yes.
And being the cheerleader and being the motivator, but it's so hard to then look inward and say, you need to keep working hard and keep your chin up and keep practicing and it'll get better. It's so funny how that is.
Absolutely.
Well,
because in a marriage relationship, Bo, so many things are pulling away from that marital, that dating relationship. Kids are pulling, work is pulling, health issues, in-laws are pulling, friends are pulling. So everything in the relationship, around the relationship, is pulling away from it. So a couple has to have the maturity and the understanding to say, you know what? We got all these things pulling away. We got to lean in. I mean, something very simple as couples starting to date again, in my estimation, is about 25% of the problem. Most couples that come to me for counseling, they stop dating. The very thing they were doing to bring them together, they stopped doing. And now, because they're not doing it, it's pulling them apart. Couples who play together, generally speaking, will stay together.
That's great.
That's good. Shawn, we'll let you get through needs 3 through 5 here, but real quick on respect. It seems like in our culture and even the Christian culture, we've kind of come to understand that love is supposed to be unconditional, but somewhere along the line we've picked up that respect has to be earned. But I don't see that biblically, especially in the context of marriage. So, how much of this is just a decision to start respecting, and maybe that begins to trigger something in the man that he starts to act in a more respectable way? And how much of it is just you just do it and
well, if you one of the things I believe as a Christian, and I'm a biblicist, I just believe the word is true.
Right.
God is not into suggestions. He's into commandments.
Yeah.
And he clearly commands a husband to love his wife, and he clearly commands a wife to respect her husband.
Right.
That's not a suggestion.
Right.
That's not something God is saying, hey, if he earns it, or if he, gets around to, if you get around to it, give him a little bit of R-E-S-P-E-C-T. No. Respect is a choice. Just like love is a choice.
Right.
Respect is a choice. And I think when a husband and a wife, when a man and a woman begin to say, we are going to be obedient to the word of God, regardless of the consequences, regardless of how I feel, regardless of perceptions, regardless of what people say, we're going to do it this way. Those couples tend to be a lot more successful. At least the divorce rate goes down very low.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, and then we're also aware you're not saying if there's abuse in a sexual area or some really awful sort of thing going on in the home that you just turn a blind eye and continue to put yourself in a bad place. Maybe we'll spend a whole other episode on that sort of thing someday, because talk about questions that people feel maybe not dumb to ask, but scared to ask. When it comes to stuff like that going on in the home, that can be a real deal. And to not allow yourself to be, continue to be put in that spot, people might need some tools. We might give them that later. So, Shawn, why don't you walk us through the next couple of needs? What does a man really need?
Absolutely. So the first one would be a sexual fulfillment. The second one would be respect/admiration. The third need of a man is what I call an attractive spouse. In other words, women are very verbal. Men are very visual.
Yeah.
Women tend to be turned on by what they hear, by words. Men tend to be turned on by what they see. And so it is important in that relationship, particularly after she has children, that she keeps herself attractive, that she to his liking.
Right.
Attractive to his liking. Okay. Not to all the people on social media, but having a conversation with her man in terms of what does he like? She does her hair like he likes it. She wears the kind of clothes that he likes. She wears the kind of things that turn him on because he's turned on by what he sees. And what I'm seeing in my office as couples come in, men are disappointed and frustrated and complaining that, now that she has 1, 2, 3, or 4 kids, she's kind of let herself go. She's no longer working out. She's no longer taking care of her body. She's no longer has the proper hygiene. And believe it or not, many men are complaining about that. So what he's saying he wants is not just sexual fulfillment, not just respect, but he wants something good to look at because that stimulates him physically.
That's so good. And I could see how hard that would be as the husband to even bring up. I mean, how do you broach that subject,
Yeah.
And I could say as a joke right here, I might say it a third time. I could say as a joke right here, you've ticked all the boxes so far, Pastor Shawn.
Well, listen, when a couple comes into my office, I'll take them through a little assessment. And these are some of the questions I ask on a scale of 1 to 10. And so 10 means your partner's doing great. 1 means not so much. Can I tell you how many men I've seen gotten elbowed on the couch when they give their wife or their girlfriend a 2 or a 3 when it comes to attractiveness? So I've seen swollen ribs and all that stuff.
And what I'm hearing you say too, it's like you said, it's not so much just what they were by God given to look like. It's just taking care of what they've been given.
It's taking care of it. And let's be honest. Let's be honest. Some people say, well, it really doesn't matter what a person looks like. And it is not important. Inner beauty is important. That's not why he married her.
That's right.
That's not why he started dating her. Yes, her inner beauty was cute. And yes, she had nice, prayers, but she also had a big butt. She also had a big butt. She also had some nice breastises, right? and so for him, he took that into consideration as well.
Yeah.
He didn't just start dating her like take away all of her teeth. Take away 2 of her fingers. Take away her weave. Take all that away, and maybe he would have reconsidered before he got down on one knee and grabbed the one hand, because she only had one hand, and said, will you marry me? So what he sees is important. What he sees is important.
That's great. All right, Shawn, hit us with number 4. What's number 4?
Okay, number 4. Now, before I tell you number 4, I said earlier that the number one reason a man will cheat is because of a lack of respect or admiration.
Okay.
The number 2 reason, the second reason that a man will cheat is because of a lack of a playmate, a lack of a recreational companion. In other words, he wants someone in his life other than his boys, other than his male friends, to have fun with him. And so he is happiest when he is doing things with his wife, with his girlfriend, whether it's golfing, if he plays tennis, if he plays racquetball, if he's a gamer, if he's a surfer, he has greater joy and a greater sense of satisfaction when he has a playmate, somebody to do that. In fact, again, you go back to when they were dating. She was, now listen, I wasn't there, but I can guarantee you, she was into the things that he was into.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
They get married, all these other things start to pull, and now she's no longer into that. Ron and Bo, I can't tell you in 20 years how many men have come to my office who are having affairs, who have had affairs, and when you break it down and find out why, because they started playing with somebody else. I'm talking guys who had affairs with chicks at the gym, because for years they were trying to get their wife to go to the gym. Again, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just telling you what happens.
Right.
He's trying to get his wife to go to the gym because he's into working out. He's into, you know, that kind of thing, and she won't do it.
Yeah.
And you got guys who do that, and they meet, you know, a chick at the gym and fall in love with her, not because she's more attractive, not necessarily because he's getting respect, but they're playing together.
Yeah.
And when you start playing with people, you start to grow fond of those people. Right?
Now, Pastor Shawn, this might not be close to your example, but and I would be curious to see if it happens in yours or Ronnie's life. The whole time you're saying this, I just am feeling guilty because I remember last week, and I'm not making a joke, last week my wife said, after dinner, she said, come on, let's go for a walk and take the dog for a walk. And I said, nah, it's all right. Go ahead by yourself. So I probably did what I shouldn't have done. I probably should have been her playmate at the time. Not that that's one of her needs, but I'm seeing a lot of this stuff that you're talking about in mine and my wife's relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. So for a woman, what she really was asking was for a date.
Yeah.
So she was saying, hey, let's take a date, and the date will be without the kids, and we're going to go walk the dog, and we'll go around the park.
Yeah.
That's important in a relationship, absolutely, for sure. But for a man, he is more so looking for a recreational companion. Just think of the scripture when God said, it is not good that Adam should be alone. I'm going to make him a helper.
Yeah.
In other words, a man that's alone is a bored man. A man that's kind of doing life by himself is really an unhappy man. So if he had his choice, he would rather have his lady on the back of his bicycle, his lady on the back of his motorcycle, right? his lady on his boat, right?
Yep.
And so for a man, it's more about the companionship. For a woman, it's more about the date. The date.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, Shawn, kind of land the plane here with number 5. What does a man really need? What's number 5?
So number 5 is what we call domestic support. Domestic support. Is she domesticated? Can she cook? Can she clean? Can she manage a household? Can she manage a household budget? Now, I got to tell you about my context. I'm an inner city guy.
Yeah.
I was born in Southeast Washington, D.C. And so in my context, You got a lot of women who can dance, a lot of women who can twerk, a lot of women who can shake it. They can shake their assets, shake what their mama gave them, but they can't fry chicken. They don't know how to cut a watermelon. And so that's problematic, especially from a guy who grew up in a home where his mother fed him 3 meals a day.
That's great.
Yeah.
His mother gave him some snacks. His mother fried chicken. His mother made him a 4-course meal. And so when a man gets married, he may not say this out loud, but he's really looking for someone in some ways that were like someone that's sort of like his mom, particularly in the area of domestic support. So when I counsel couples for premarital counseling, one of the things I ask the lady is, are you willing to wash his underwear? That's what his mother did.
Wow.
Are you willing to make food for him? Are you willing to manage the household? Because a man doesn't just want a house. He wants someone that's skilled in building a home. And generally speaking, women are much better at building a home than a man is. And so he wants a woman that's domesticated.
Yeah.
That's domesticated.
Wow.
I got to tell you, I can't wait till our next episode where you run down the 5 things that a woman really needs, because I think my wife and I are sort of backwards here. I think I got hers and she's got mine, but we'll have to wait and see.
Well, I think that's
But
it.
there's always exceptions to the rules. There's always exceptions to the rules. So.
Yeah, I'm sure. But this, when I first started thinking about, okay, what's a man really need? I thought, oh, this is going to be real great for me. And then I'm going, you know what? Like, Anna will actually enjoy listening to this. It'll be challenging. And then just so we keep it even, in the next episode, we'll tackle what's a woman really need in a relationship, and then I'll have a lot to learn. So this is good for both of us.
And isn't it amazing?
It's good for both. It's good for both. But now, in fairness, now let me say this in fairness. Now, I'm in the process of writing 2 books about these subjects.
Yeah.
The book for the guy is called Mannerisms: How to Effectively Respect Your Man, and the book, and that's releasing in May of 2021. The book I'm writing for women is called, actually for men, that women that men should read, is called Ladies First: How to Effectively Love Your Woman. But in fairness, ladies should really always go first. Ladies should always be put first. So if someone is listening to the podcast, I would say, listen to what the ladies need first, then listen to what the men need.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Amen. That's a good,
ladies first.
That's a good
Ladies
word.
first.
That's a good word.
Ladies first.
Well, Pastor Shawn, you've given us tons to think about, and super helpful. Again, you can follow Pastor Shawn McBride at Shawn McBride Speaks on Instagram, and he's on Facebook too. Make sure you hit his website, couplescounselingcenter.org. He's got a number of books that he's written. All of them are fantastic. And like I said at the beginning, you're one of my all-time favorite speakers and communicators, and so you just have to reach out to Shawn or us here at Ronnie and Bo Show at gmail.com, and we can get you hooked up with Shawn if you're wanting to bring him in for a speaking engagement as well.
Pastor Shawn.
And Ronnie, real quick, Ronnie and Bo, real quick, when they go to the couplescounselingcenter.org, I can meet with them virtually. In other words, I meet with people privately right outside of Washington, D.C. in my home office, but I literally have clients due to COVID all around the world. Literally, I was on a counseling session with a couple in Belgium a week ago.
Wow.
I got clients all over the United States because due to technology, we can meet anywhere. So when you go to the couplescounselingcenter.org, you can schedule a virtual appointment with me, or if you're in the Washington, D.C. area, in-person appointment with me as well.
That's
Pastor
fantastic.
Shawn, I got to tell you, I know just a little bit about you because I don't know you as well as Ronnie does, but it doesn't matter where you're born or where you came from or how you were raised. You are a true gift to everybody on this planet, man. And you are,
oh, bless you.
No, and I mean it. And you're a great resource and a great tool. People should cling on to you and learn from you. You are an absolute God's gift to this world.
Bless you. Well, Bo, the check is in the mail. Thank you for that endorsement.
I mean it.
Well, we love you to death, Shawn. We're super thankful for you, and this is just priceless information for our relationships. We'll look forward to having you back on our next episode, and just remember, you never have to feel dumb for asking.
Thanks for listening to Feel Dumb for Asking with Ronnie and Bo, available on your favorite podcast provider. Please connect with Ronnie and Bo on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and RonnieandBoShow.com. Send comments to RonnieandBoShow@gmail.com.